Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating framework that completely rethinks power, governance, and our connection to the natural world. It's based on a deeply contemplative piece of work simply called Nature Rules. So take a breath, center yourself, because we're about to look at the very structures of our society through a totally different, much more grounded lens. The source material kicks off with this striking, poetic contradiction. Nature is powerful, yet silent. Just think about human power for a second. It's usually pretty loud, right? It demands attention, it broadcasts itself all over the place, it takes up a lot of space. But nature operates on a completely different frequency. It holds this immense, undeniable power, literally the power to create, sustain, and destroy. And yet, it does all of this without demanding a single round of applause. It just is. This contrast between our loud human power and the silent presence of nature is the meditative rhythm that really anchors everything we're about to explore. The author then takes us through this incredible auditory montage, assigning all these vast, contradictory, but perfectly harmonious attributes to nature. Listen to this. Nature's wealthy, it's wise, it's beautiful, it can be loud, it is profoundly peaceful, it's green, fresh, calm, true, global, circular, alert, rejuvenating, joyful, present, real, right, colorful, and noble. It is the absolute embodiment of all these grand concepts rolled into one magnificent presence. But after every single one of those magnificent descriptors, the text returns right back to the same grounding anchor, yet silent. It's this constant reminder that true majesty doesn't actually need to shout. This recurring motif is absolutely crucial because it sets the stage for how we're supposed to evaluate our own human systems of power against the ultimate standard. Section 1. Meet Oluyomi Ola-David, a visionary thinker. So who is the mind behind this profound mix of poetry and structural analysis? Well, the insights we're unpacking today come from Oluyomi Ola-David. She is a visionary thinker who proudly notes her Nigerian heritage and her absolute love for people. In her own words, she is deeply concerned about global development and transformation. What's really fascinating about her approach is how she blends technical insights, economics, and policy with deeply held faith. She explicitly states that her Father God owns and rules the universe. She describes him as the wheel within her wheels. And it's exactly this blend of spiritual grounding, a genuine love for humanity, and an analytical mind generating sustainable solutions that gives her framework so much weight. She isn't just crunching data. She is looking at the very soul of how we govern ourselves. Part 2, the degrees of perception. Okay, let's dive into this. And look at her actual analytical framework. How does she take those poetic observations about nature and turn them into a structured understanding of society? Well, she illustrates her philosophy beautifully using an inverted pyramid. Notice that overarching theme resting right across the wide foundational top. Nature never abuses its power. As humans, we're constantly grappling with the abuse of power. But nature, despite all its immense wealth and wisdom we just talked about, never abuses its position. Over on the right side, there's an axis labeled degree of perception. This implies that as we move through different layers of human organization, our perception of this truth actually shifts.
Section 3, deconstructing human power structures. Let's start walking down the layers of this pyramid. She funnels the concept of power from the micro, individual level, all the way down to the macro, global scale. Right under nature's flawless example sits step 1, the personal power of choice. This is our individual agency. It's the broadest layer of human power because literally every single one of us wields it. Think about your own personal power of choice for a second. From there, we narrow down to step 2, the household power of parenting. This is our immediate sphere of influence, where we shape the next generation. Then, we funnel down even further into step 3, the corporate power of value creation. This is business, economics, how we organize to produce things. It's all connected, you know? You exercise your personal power of choice every day, which feeds into how you govern your household, which ultimately ties right into the corporate value you create or consume. Continuing our way down the pyramid, we hit the collective macro levels of society. The next layer down is the political power of accountability. This is governance, justice, the state. And finally, narrowing down even more, we reach the global power of integration. This covers global development, the Sustainable Development Goals, international relations. Notice how, as the systems get larger and way more complex, going from just you to the entire globe, they actually occupy a narrower space on our pyramid. That represents a narrowing degree of perception.
Part 4. Nature's Sovereign Rule. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is where all this human activity ultimately leads. If you follow the inverted pyramid all the way down to its sharpest point at the very bottom, you don't actually find a human institution. You find the sovereign power of nature. Every single thing, our personal choices, our parenting, corporate value, politics, global integration, it all funnels down and rests completely upon this tiny foundational tip. Nature is the bedrock. It's such a profound visual metaphor. Despite all our loud human structures stocked up on top, they are entirely dependent on the silent, sovereign role of the natural world right at the base. Let's compare these two directly. On one side, you have human power. Whether it's corporate, political, or global, human power is incredibly fragile. According to her text, it can grow powerless, it's totally susceptible to abuse, corruption, and failure. On the other side, though, you have nature's power. It is silent, it is constant, and, as the top of her pyramid reminds us, it never abuses its power. It just quietly sustains the entire inverted pyramid of human existence. Section 5. Reclaiming our power. So, how do we ensure our human systems don't just collapse? How do we maintain our personal power of choice without it turning into powerlessness? Well, Oliomi brings her framework to a philosophical climax that connects our individual agency directly back to the earth. Let's read her core thesis together, slowly. We are all powerful, yet may grow powerless the farther away we are from nature. This brilliantly illustrates her entire message. Our personal, corporate, and political power only remains intact and effective when it stays in close proximity to the wisdom, the balance, and the silent strength of nature. When we detach our global integration or our corporate value creation from the natural world, we don't gain more power. Actually, we become powerless. We lose our foundation entirely. It's a beautifully structured argument that really challenges us to look at the systems we participate in every single day. If our ultimate strength is tied to our proximity to the natural world, I want to leave you with this one provocative question to reflect on. How far are you from nature today? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this framework gives you a powerful new way to see the world around you.